Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 106 for Tuesday, the 9th of May, 2017. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week, eventually, we'll be talking about angry sat-nav follow-up, Waymo versus Uber in court, new car registrations, and Citroen's history is put right. So, I'm going to go straight into a correction, actually. Our first ever correction, not just follow-up. But in the last episode, when discussing the BRZ and the sat-nav and how it was angry, we've been informed since, and we will update the page of this episode, of that episode as well, that it is a Pioneer unit, which was an optional extra. That's correct, isn't it, Alan?
That's correct,
yes.
Yeah.
And the angriness can be switched off. That isn't a problem. Yes. But it had only turned up in the country a couple of days before the event, so Subaru wasn't aware that how angry the angriness was.
So, yes, and if you're not being all sort of, I was going to say motoring journalisty, but that could get us in trouble. If you actually, I'm sure if you actually take the time to sit and look through the manual rather than reading it while someone else is driving and trying to score your way through the options, it's really probably quite easy to turn off the little angry. Yes. But we'll have follow up on that anyway in August because yeah, I'm going to try a manual one for a week.
So I'm not jealous at all.
Bah. I take this as part payment for you getting the WRX.
No.
It's not full payment.
No. We have written proof of how many times I offered it to you, and you said to me, "No, it's okay. You go ahead," because I knew this would come up. We have screenshots taken and everything. They're with my lawyer and in a special secret safety deposit box in case I ever disappear.
Dropbox. Anyway, moving on from that, we've got another piece of follow-up. We've talked about the Waymo that is formerly as a part of Google that deals with autonomous vehicles and their case against Uber. Basically, what's happening right at the moment, because this keeps pottering along in the background, although unlike downloading the webpage containing the story has downloaded in the background. So there we go. And whilst the US District Court Judge William Alsop has been really quite outspoken in what's been going on so far, they have pointed out to Waymo that they don't actually have the full smoking gun, in his words, to sort of seal up the case straight away against against Uber.
Looking at the reporting on that, it did sound as though he tried to give Waymo every opportunity to come out with the killer blow. Mm-hmm. And well, come on then, you've made all these accusations, you've been very public about all these accusations, and it does sound as though they've been very naughty people. So where's this ultimate evidence then that's going to make it a no-brainer? And yeah, it's like he sounds disappointed that they haven't produced that. He probably is disappointed because he's going to have to sit through tedious hours upon hours of rhetoric and argument and counter-argument by incredibly well-paid lawyers and legal counsels.
Yeah, it's going to have to go through the whole patent lawyer jungle.
Well, really, I think they have to establish that he's actually used the stuff first.
Now, there was another...
They're not arguing the toss that he took it. It sounds like the argument is going to be, right, he's taken it, but has he done anything actually with it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the judge has basically said, we know the guy's got these 40,000 files, but what you have that's not enough in this case for what you're alleging. You need to actually be able to prove that he has used those files yet. And there is much debate and discussion about it, about how close the spider lidar from Uber compared to the Waymo system as well. There was another article from last week before, which we didn't at the time. We didn't actually have time to include in the show, but it was talking about the. What was it talking about? That's a very good question. It was. I know. I was kind of. Now I got distracted and forgotten. It's been one of those days, everyone. So it was talking about him pleading the Fifth Amendment on many things, and how actually, depending on what the question was, then actually that told an awful lot about. Basically, the questions he didn't answer told a lot about what it was felt that Waymo knew on the way through, and his lawyers knew. But obviously, there wasn't just that last bit to just make it completely cut and shut right at the start.
Yes, because I think the judge got quite cross with him taking the Fifth, didn't he? Pleading the Fifth.
Yes, it got a little bit silly.
Taking the Fifth.
Plead whatever. I don't know.
Doing something with the Fifth. That was
basically refusing to implicate himself in things that he believed he didn't implicate himself. So that's what the Fifth Amendment is.
Not by saying it implicates himself, but never mind.
Yes, well, that's it. It is one of these. Yeah, it's one of these things.
It's a quirk, isn't it?
That's the joys of legal systems.
Well, we don't need to know the American one as well, do we?
No, I feel I already know far too much about German law.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Yeah. How that works.
Anyway, okay, it's that time of the month, Al.
It is. It's the time of the month I normally really, really look forward to, because it is, are you ready for it, guys? The most motoring podcast thing ever. The analysis of the Society of Motor Manufacturing and Trader sales figures for
car registrations.
Oh, no, I did it.
You got sucked into it. 18 months after we've started the show. We've been so careful not to say that. What
you've got to understand, everyone, is that in my head is that thing like "don't think about strawberries" thing that as a kid, and then you can't not think about strawberries. Everyone, I'm sitting here going, it's registration figures, it's registration figures, it's registration figures. They do not tie to sales figures, Alan. They do not tie to sales figures, Alan. And I fell straight into it this month, because I was so distracted by the 19.8% fall year on year of
expected fall, though, wasn't it?
In April, it was expected. I don't know if I was expecting it to be quite as huge.
Well, I think there's a couple of things here. There's the fact that the amount that have been registered hasn't actually been increasing as great as it was last year, and it hasn't since the infamous vote that we don't want to talk about. It's not been. Previously it was going like that, and now it's more of a just. Sometimes it's occasionally could be classed as a rounding error, as you like.
Very much, yeah.
So from that point of view, the registrations. I see. I'm doing it now. The registrations weren't strong, anyway. They were increasing, but they weren't strong. And it was after the change in the VED rules, which. Don't appear to have been well thought through, I think is the polite way to put it.
They're a blooming mess, you mean?
Yeah, that's another way to put it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I could say other words, but then I'd have to bleep myself.
Yes, well, exactly.
Yet on this show.
So shall we talk about what the outcome is, really? Overall, by the way, despite that 20% drop, year-to-date market is actually up 1.1% still. Okay, on last year, with 972,092 cars registered in the first 4 months. Sadly for me, there is a downturn in the number of alternatively fueled vehicles. First one for 47 months, because part of the new VED rates are to do with. This is your fault.
Ding.
Are to do with higher rates for hybrid vehicles.
But market share 2017 is still over 4%, which is excellent.
It is.
And if you look at year to date, the percentage change is brilliant.
Yeah, it's up 23.8% on last year to date. Definitely, which is very good indeed. This last month, April, however, private sales were down 28.4%, fleet sales were down 12.3%, and business sales down 21%. Just to compare month on, no, I'll do it at the end. I'll come up with that at the end. So yeah, so that's not awesome. Let's try and scroll down a bit. I'm having technical issues tonight, guys, as you can probably tell.
Would you want to run through the best sellers?
I was trying to, but it's having a hissy fit. Oh, there we go. So the best sellers for this month, number 10 was the BMW 1 Series with 2,740. Very small spread actually in the top 10 this month, which is
a change.
9th Volkswagen Polo, 8th the Audi A3 with a nice round 3,000. 7th the Volkswagen Golf, 6th the Vauxhall Astra, 5th the Ford Focus, 4th the Mercedes-Benz A-Class with 3,608. 3rd the Mercedes-Benz C-Class with 3,777, which is quite lucky and sibilant. 2nd the Nissan Qashqai with 4,430 registrations, and 1st, you'll never guess it, just by really very little, was the Ford Fiesta with 4,957. Now, normally we see stuff like Ford Fiesta outselling the Vauxhall Corsa, which isn't even in the top 10 list, you'll notice, by kind of 1.5 times.
Well, if you look at year to date,
1.25.
If you look at the year to date, the Fiesta is sitting at 43,162, and number 2 is the Focus at 27,307. So that's
only in 3 months.
Yeah. So for all those playing along at home, if you've forgotten how much Fiesta is normally ahead, there's an indication.
Yeah, and Vauxhall Corsa 23,765. So it's selling. What is it? 3 to 5? It's just over half.
It's selling more.
Vauxhall are selling just over half the number of Corsas of Ford. The Vauxhall are registering just over half the number of Corsas that Ford is registering of Fiesta. Fiesta have a plural? I think it's just Fiesta. Anyway, so yeah, those are the numbers in that way. Just quickly before we move on to the uppers and downers, to compare, when we're comparing, remember we're comparing April this year 2017 with April last year 2016, because there are seasonal variations, traditional variations in which months are better selling months, better registering, but better selling and registering months than others. This year, no exception. But just to give you an idea of a comparison between record-breaking March and completely the opposite for April in 2017. Last month, April, 152,076 cars registered here in the UK. March, month before, 562,337. Okay, so really it was just over a quarter of the number of cars registered in April as registered in March. And I know the seasonal variation, all that kind of thing.
But there was more. This, for March, it was more though, wasn't there?
Gee, how do you mean? Because it was record the month, it was just there were lots of cars registered in March. March was up on the year before, quite considerably. So it's these are two extremes that I'm giving. I'm not saying that is typical. Anyway, should we move on to the uppers and downers?
Should we do the winners first?
Oh, go on.
Because it may not take very long.
No, it won't.
Well, there were a few companies that were uppish, but there were such small numbers that I'm not bothering to include them. However,
we might as well. It's not as if it's going to add much time.
Okay. Congratulations, Aston Martin. A jump of 87.8%.
Oh, there's more than I thought, actually, because I'm only looking at a little tiny bit of it.
Last year, 41 cars registered. This year, 77. BMW up 2.7. Considering how bad the month was for everyone, that's probably not bad.
That's pretty impressive when you compare it to
Last
some of the
year,
rest.
yeah, last year 10,980. This year 11,277. Brilliant work by Chevrolet. 13 cars
Zero.
registered last month. Right, going down. Lotus, nearly 21%. They registered 29 cars this year as opposed to 24. Maserati, well done, 16%. 109 cars this year, or last month. And then we get to the first... Well, no, sorry, McLaren. Congratulations, McLaren. 9 cars registered, none last year.
No, none were counted. I think they were gathered under other British last year.
Okay. But congratulations to Mercedes. 10.5%, which is no mean feat, which it was reflected
Well,
in the top 10.
just wait till you hear some of the other brands, and you'll realize that that's pretty awesome.
So this year, 13,345. Last year, 12,077. And then we scroll down further and a bit further, and we get to Seat. Well done, Seat. Congratulations. 12.17% increase. So 3,926 this year against 3,500 last year. And considering how they had a rough year until the Ateca turned up, or a rough few years till the Ateca turned up, now they've got the new Leon. There's the new Ibiza. So they've got a refresh range. They've got more cars coming out. So congratulations to Seat there. Smart. Again, who buys these smart cars or registers them? 7.22% increase. So 965 cars registered against 900. Sanyong, 9.73%. An increase is an increase, though. 282 is against a 257. And
that's it.
That's it. Now, Alan, would you like to go through the ones I have marked who haven't done quite as well?
No.
And I have not marked all of them either, have I?
Honestly, everyone, basically, if Andrew didn't just read them out there was a drop. There are some who are notable for the lack of drop. Audi down 4.2%. Again, these are ones that sell into fleets, which didn't drop quite as much. I don't even know where to start. It is just so depressing.
Well, if we start at the bottom, let's pick some big names that have had a big hit. So if you look at Vauxhall, last year, 16,877. This year, 9,954.
Exactly. Down 41. Down 33%. Volkswagen, 68. You've just read out numbers for Volkswagen, mate. So that's Volkswagen down 41%. Vauxhall down 33%. Toyota down 23%. Suzuki down 28%. Subaru down 54%. Renault down 21%. Peugeot down 20%. Nissan down 19%, despite the strong showing of the Qashqai, normally one of its best sellers here in the UK. Mazda down 26%. Lexus down 19.5%. Land Rover, okay, Land Rover of the, oh my God, it's up 60% each month, down 36%. Jeep down 72%. I think that is the biggest drop that isn't a sort of double-figure car seller here in the UK. Jaguar, again, soaring every month, down 27.98%. Honda down 10%. Ford down 30%. Fiat down 49%. DS down 53%. Dacia down 26.4%. And Citroen down 39.88%. It just, I mean, let's just run and slit our wrists now. I'm sure that this is a combination of the two factors, that soaring March, poor April, just which is to catch up on that whilst everyone registered their cars in March and signed them into April. It'll be better next month. I have no doubt that it will be better next month, but I bet it will still be a drop. Not by quite as much, but people will have decided and realized that they do need to procure vehicles. So I see a bit of a slump across the next.
I can see a good quarter. I can see the quarter because people will have rushed things forward to, particularly if you're talking fleet or business, they'll have rushed things forward to catch that VED change.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a pretty grim quarter, and then hopefully it will return to.
And then we get into August anyway at that point, and the summer.
Yeah, August, September, of course, is a new reg number, but we'll see how that.
Yeah, that I think that's the big tell. Really.
I mean, I was saying earlier on to you, Andrew, before we started recording, that all of a sudden there is far more of an interest in vehicles that were registered before the 1st of April. I was saying that someone I know has just bought a car that was pre-registered a couple of months ago, partly to get around that, because they could either have had a new car which would have had higher tax, or a pre-registered bigger model with much lower tax, and went for that instead, and still saved quite a lot of money on it. But yeah, there seemed to be a lot of pre-registered stuff out there that he bought with 99 miles on the clock, and saved himself 5 figures in the process.
Which was nice.
Which is nice. It's a very nice car. Yes. I'm looking forward to a shotty of it, actually. But yeah, I decided it was too soon last night, and we both had a beer.
Yeah, wise decision.
So we're grown up. So anyway, that's the doom and gloom section. As I say, it just gives us something to look forward to next month.
Okay, well, if we can move on to the hysterical section.
Well, yeah, it is a bit, isn't it?
Yes, the government released a report on the same day as the local elections, I believe. Yes, on how they proposed to address air quality issues. Now, because they want to give the public a chance to view this and give their opinions on the ideas. So some in the press reported this as a done deal and it was going to happen. Yet when you read the wording, there's lots of could, may, possibly, we are considering, and phrases like that. So none of this is in stone. And if the government that is in now is not the government that is in place in a month or so, then these proposals will change. And even if the government is in now is the government that is in later, these proposals may change again anyway.
Well, it does. I mean, it says that. I mean, we're the one that we're taking as our source for this is from Autocar by Rachel Burgess, and it states, towards the end, they've taken many. Well, they're in quotation marks. We can only assume they're direct quotations from this. But one of the things that it points out is that whatever is reported on this does not necessarily mean that it is what is going to happen.
So don't think there's going to be a scrappage scheme.
No.
If the economy tanks, all of a sudden, there will be a scrappage scheme, and we all need to appreciate that. And they will say that they may claim that it's for environmental issues, but it will be to stimulate the economy like they did last time there was a scrappage scheme. It's
to get the money moving again, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to. But it's... Yeah, I mean, as it's been outlined right at the minute, it's going to be a very focused scrappage scheme on older diesel vehicles.
And petrol.
Is it petrols as well? Older vehicles.
Very old petrols.
Very old petrols and diesels, so probably nice collectible stuff if it survived this long. And it's going to be focused on that, and it's only going to be payable if people are buying a fully electric vehicle, so not onto hybrids and similar. There are lots and lots and lots of caveats and
basically they've thrown a bunch of ideas at a whiteboard and then written them all down and said, this is what we're thinking.
And they've done that. They've basically.
And look, honestly, we're being proactive. We're being very proactive. We've considered these things over a coffee, maybe that long, and we've written them down, and they're in official-looking documents. Therefore, we've done our bit. This was just after they got a right telling off in the courts for no, you can't put this off.
So there's all sorts of fun stuff. I mean, one here is, this is the one that really got me going, was the proposal also states that the government has concluded that adjusting speed limits could be practicable in helping emissions levels, but added that it needed further monitoring in real-world conditions before making a decision. Translation: we haven't made a decision, and we don't really know.
Yeah.
It suggested that dropping the motorway speed limit from 70 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour would help improve air quality and would have no impact on congestion.
Because remind me,
really?
Alan, remind me. You know when cars run at a slower speed,
oh yeah,
they are much cleaner, aren't they? They are much. It's a much cleaner emissions that come out of the tailpipe, particularly diesels and things like that, which would be typically more cars on the motorway. So that would be a good idea, right?
Oh, that'd be an awesome idea, Andrew. Yes.
No, I mean, sorry, the opposite.
No, it is, isn't it? Because most of the cars that we buy today and that are for sale here in Europe are designed for Europe, where actually they're most economical and, you know, as a result, probably the most cleanest because they're using the least fuel, when they're sitting at around 80 miles an hour, which happens to be the speed that most cars cruise on the motorway here in the UK, unless they're stuck behind a truck. Okay, let's not beat about the bush here. Majority of British motorways, if it's not on a bank holiday, will run generally sit at about 80 to 83 miles an hour, which happens to be 130 kilometers an hour, which is the speed limit across much of Europe and Germany, for exactly those reasons. So yeah, that really helps. So that's a good one.
Considering in the same virtual breath, almost, as in a week or two ago, they were talking about, perhaps we need to remove speed bumps because it slows everyone down and that makes more emissions. To then come out and say, we'll slow cars down, that'll help. It's like, oh, come on.
Because
no one
reading
the boredom's
not going to cause more accidents, is it? That's my grown-up response to it. That's about the level I've got to with some of this stuff now.
Yes, it's very silly.
Vehicle owners who opted to scrap the cars would be offered a grant incentive of £6,000 plus £2,000 to cover the residual value of their vehicle. These are estimates which the government states may not be reasonable. Here are some numbers that we contracted a proctologist with a torch to come up with some numbers for us. Oh, dear me. It goes on and on and on and on and on. So basically, some paper has been wasted printing some stuff which might or might not have any kind of resemblance to what might or might not happen in reality.
Well, you know what it smacked of? Because they got told off in the courts. It just smacked of a petulant child going, all right, I'll do something and here's my homework. Here's my homework. And that's what that was. And it really is annoying because the press leapt on it, particularly the mainstream press, going, oh, scrappage scheme, oh, banning. Again, reiterating if you're a diesel driver, you're a murderer.
Well, there was at least one person who was pretty peeved by that type of response.
Yes.
And Jeremy Hicks, UK Managing Director of JLR, did come out with a statement. Is it worth me reading the statement in full?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think it's a statement, actually.
It's not very long. We welcome the consultation, recognizing the fundamental difference between older vehicles, which contribute to air pollution, and clean, new diesels, which are part of the air quality solution. Our latest EU6 diesel engines are among the cleanest in the world. Highly efficient diesel particulate filters now capture 99.9% of all particles, and we're making further emissions improvements with every new model year vehicle. Pollutant emission levels for new diesels are comparable to the equivalent petrol engines, but with CO2 emissions that are around 20% lower. Our customers demand greater fuel economy all the time, and new diesels deliver that. Customers can be reassured that Jaguar Land Rover is contributing. Try again now. Customers can be reassured that Jaguar Land Rover is continuing to invest in cleaner technology, with £1 billion invested at our engine manufacturing centre near Wolverhampton, as well as a major hybrid and electrification programme. Older car engines are just one potential source of urban air pollutants, and we'd be keen to see the strategy tackling air quality across a range of pollution sources, including heating, public transport, and shipping.
Yeah, basically saying they're really clean now, new stuff. Stop blaming them. There are different types of diesel. And can you stop saying that it's all the car that's at fault?
There was a whole bunch of, at the end of the press release, there's a whole bunch in the notes for editors. There's a couple of ones which I quite liked in here because I like the nerdy numbers. But between 2004 and 2016, JLR's average nitrogen oxide emissions have reduced by 84%, they say, which is no small achievement, really. Yeah. So there's lots of talk about scrappage schemes. The more talk there is, the less it seems to be grounded in reality, really. As far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's again demonstrating that the politicians are only thinking at one level.
Up until the next election, you mean?
Well, not even that far.
Well, this is true. Anyhow, it's about halfway through, I reckon. And that means that it's my time to growl for your support, folks. Say, when we started out producing the Motoring Podcast, we didn't know if we'd make it to episode 10, let alone episode 100. Here we are at 100 and many. And yeah, we're still quite amazed that we've made it this far. We have to keep, well, we don't have to. We wish to keep growing and nurturing Motoring Podcast and review and, you know, all the stuff that we try and do. But to do that, we really would like a little bit of help. We've got many targets for what we'd like to do, things we'd like to introduce, shows we'd like to do, features we really want to do, and we kind of need your help to enable us to do that. So what we've decided to do is put together something called a Patreon. It's basically where our supporters can pledge a certain amount per month to support us and support what we do. And you can change that amount. You can add, you can stop. It doesn't matter. It's entirely up to you. There's a number of suggested pledging levels at patreon.com/motoringpodcast, which you can subscribe. You can subscribe at, or you could just choose a random amount in between to donate to us every month, and we would really appreciate that. For those different amounts, then we offer you different levels of service. So there's different offers depending on what it is, depending on how much that you donate to us, really. So that can be anything from like $1 a month, so about 60 pence. If you give us 60 pence a month, we'll tell you when shows are published. Straight up. So you don't have to rely on your podcatcher. You don't have to rely on us remembering to tweet stuff. You will get an email which tells you that tells you that a show has been a show is out there, so that you can go and you can see it. And that goes right the way up to all sorts of offers, including the ability to take part in calls about the direction of Motoring Podcast. I'm trying to think what else I included, Andrew, and I've now forgotten.
People all sorts of sit in and watch.
Yeah, to be able to watch us record this live, so you can see all the bits that we don't cut out anyway. Okay. But all these kind of things, please, patreon.com/motoringpodcast or motoringpodcast.com/support. And there's a link at motoringpodcast.com anyway. I know that quite a few of you have said, really mean to do that. We really need to get around to do it. Now is a good point to pause your podcast and go do it. No, pause it now. Okay, welcome back and thanks. If you're not in a position to be able to support us via Patreon, then please, a rating and a review via the podcast playing platform of your choice would be greatly appreciated. The most popular of them, most popular podcast platform is iTunes. So if you could leave a rating review on there, that would be absolutely fab. That's a huge help. So thank you. Shall we move on?
Let's.
Just
It's a quick reminder, isn't it?
It is a quick reminder, another quick reminder, actually, and that's Formula E is back this weekend. This weekend,
if you've been on the social medias, you'll have noticed that fan boosting has
already started.
Been busy doing it. I noticed Jaguar out there.
Yeah, and it's quick fire. So it's Monaco this weekend, Paris the following weekend. I was kind of trying to get a trip to Paris for work so that I could accidentally be there for the Formula E, but it hasn't quite worked out for various reasons. So I was over the other weekend instead.
Well,
so
you
you
just
can't
have to
have too
try
much
harder.
of it.
You're just not trying hard enough for us. I'm very disappointed in you, Alan.
Yes. That's it. That's completely it.
But it's going to be on Channel 5, isn't it? As well as live streaming through
live streaming
witchcraftiness.
Well, yes, there is live streaming via YouTube of all the coverage up until the race. However, because it all happens on the one day, or it all happens in one go, if you happen, I'm told, to watch the qualifying on YouTube and you leave the YouTube window open, then magically when the stream comes back, you're already connected so you can watch the race.
Oh.
I'm told that that's the way that some people watch it.
So you've heard.
Allegedly.
Yes.
And it means that you don't have to put up with the terrible adverts on the Channel 5 app. I'm also told. So yes, Formula E is back this week and next week as well in Paris.
Yeah, next week is WRC in Portugal as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's your department.
Full-on motorsport weekend.
It's got to that season, really, though, hasn't it? The other thing to remind you about this weekend, which we haven't put further down, is that this weekend, this Sunday morning, is Redditch Classics and Coffee at Great Escape Cars in Redditch.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. I will add
Yes, you'll see. We're going to that. It's on our Facebook page.
That'll be why I don't know.
We have accepted on the Facebook page, which is why you don't know.
Tinfoil hat is into hand at the moment.
Yes, no, it isn't. God, and it should be actually after your tweets this evening. So yes.
I didn't even get started this evening.
Oh, God. Yes, I was just leaving you to it. Anyway, so
so go along to that because it's brilliant.
Yes, go along to that. You get free coffee. In return for some of that free coffee, please put a few quid into the collection jar for the local children's hospice, name of which Acorn Hospice, I think it is. That's definitely what I'll be doing. I have every intention of being there on Sunday morning.
What are you taking?
I was going to take the way across for various reasons.
Noise and light.
Yeah, those are some of the reasons. Well, not so much light, but those are some of the reasons.
Okay.
So yeah, Victor Vegros, because he's still quite clean. At the minute, we'll be coming along, and the other two cars are grim right now. Anyway, that's enough about what's happening at the weekend, but don't forget those people. The next piece of news is actually from a couple of weeks old, really, but it is sort of fitted in with what we've been talking about tonight, which seems to be the theme of the show. It seems to be very much pollution-oriented, or pollution and taxation-oriented. And one of the things to talk about is that TfL, Transport for London, is spending £18 million preparing London for new electric taxis, which is a good thing. The idea is to install 300 fast charging stations by 2020, which should help some of what I feel is some of the worst particulate emissions in a concentrated space.
So they're all going to be in Euston train station underneath.
Oh, I do hope so. I do hope so. But it's British Gas owner and AA owner Centrica and other companies are aiming to install these 300 rapid charging stations by 2020 to basically mean that people can fast charge, cabbies can fast charge their cabs whilst they're waiting. Because remember, we talked the other week about the latest the next generation of black cab from LTI, or London Taxi Company it's called now, isn't it? Which is part of Geely, with that hybrid Volvo-based, Volvo-developed hybrid powertrain, which is going to be in it, which is aiming to be plug-in electric vehicles. So this should help people. It should help cabbies increase the range without using their internal combustion engine. The aim is to have the first 75 of these in place and running by the end of 2018. Some of them will be black cab exclusives, so expect to see them in ranks, I guess. But others will also be able to be used by Tesla, Leaf, i3, Zoe, whatever owners across central London. So, yeah.
A good move and needed.
Yes. They haven't mentioned pricing yet, but allegedly, the main network supplier in the capital, company called London, it would cost a Nissan Leaf driver £10.80 to top up with a rapid charger plus £4 monthly fee. Still cheaper than petrol, but that's using the rapid charger. If you charge at home, of course, on overnight, then it'll be significantly cheaper. That's very much that's the motorway service station charging of electric cars, I would say.
Yeah,
just there. So yeah, that should be good.
Mm-hmm.
That should be good. That will help stop me grumble about taxis as much.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right, moving on. List of the week, and this is a few weeks old, actually. However, it's from a friend of the show and seemingly by proxy regular contributor, Gavin Breakaway Smith.
It is a bit that way.
Anyone else wants to come out with some cracking lists or articles, they are more than welcome to, and we will include them. However, Gavin seems to do it on a very regular basis, so I do not apologise at all for that. I call on others to raise their game. But anyway, this list is the 20 most literal car names, and some of them are fantastic. I mean, we start with obvious ones like the Skoda Superb,
the Maserati Quattroporte,
the Aston Martin Rapide.
Yeah, and it goes on and on and on.
The Mini, that was one that just hadn't occurred to me, but the original Mini.
The Ferrari LaFerrari is a favourite.
Yes, I chuckled heartily at that one. And the Toyota Land Cruiser. Which,
yeah, that's true. I didn't thought that.
Which in the picture is very very off-roading.
Mm-hmm. Look at that kind of thing.
And the Citroen DS. Because
how does that work?
Well, if you read at the bottom, it says DS is a pun based on DS. I don't know how to pronounce, which is the French word
funnily
for
enough,
modest.
do you know how it's pronounced, Andrew? It's
DS?
pronounced as the same way as the French pronounce DS, which is DS.
DS. Right.
Means goddess.
Yep.
I have a T-shirt with that one from which was from Slick Attire.
Oh, okay. I did spit a little bit of coffee out when I read the Hyundai Coupe.
Yeah, there is that, isn't it? Well, the version before was called the Coupe.
The Mitsubishi Minicab made me want to find a Mitsubishi Minicab. How cute is that tiny little...
And that one there, by the way, is a plug-in hybrid that he's included as well. So anyway, go have a little look, because there's loads of others that we haven't mentioned intentionally. because otherwise we give away the whole list and there's no point in you going and looking. But no, head over to Motoring Research. There'll be a link in the show notes.
Yeah, and that just leaves one more.
That leaves one more.
This is more of a correction, isn't it?
Well, it is a little bit.
And not because of us. This isn't our problem.
No, it's Citroen. Citroen have a website called Citroen Origins. Now, what was causing some consternation was that the Citroen Origins website had missed out two rather important vehicles, people felt. One was the aforementioned DS, so the Citroen DS. The other one was the Citroen SM, which was the sort of DS. Basically, if a DS and a Maserati at the time, which got bought by Citroen, they went off, they had a romantic night together, things happened, and then the Citroen SM came out, kind of hybrid Maserati, come Citroen there. But yeah, they have been re-included, which is fantastic news. They have been re-included in there, and it's a great way. It's a kind of online Citroen museum. Lots of Citroen museum. Both, I was just checking, both commercial and road cars. Yes. And browsing through, clicking on them. Let's go to the H van. Dum, dum, dum. There we go. It gives me loads of information about the H van, and there's something like almost 500,000 H vans produced. One of the things that I learned about recently, I didn't realize about the H van. So I went into, if you're in Paris, then, or if I'm in Paris, then I'm sure some of you have noticed that I tend to, if I can, I try and make a point of visiting all the brand centers on the Champs-Elysees. And there was an exhibition about the H van at C42. So that's the Citroen brand center. It's number 42 on the Champs-Elysees. It's like the Citroen of buildings. It's all weird. It's the weirdest building on the
raises up pneumatically and back down again when you leave it. Well, take the keys out, lock it up for the night.
Not quite. Well, the visual language, but it does have lots of weird things in it. It's got all these weird platforms all the way up. You've seen pictures I've posted. But they had a display of the H van, and it was like, oh wow, that's a real classic. That looks really old. The one that was down at the bottom. Oh yeah, this is the 1981 model. Okay, the 1981 model looks barely any different from the 1950 whenever model. Yes, they were having great fun with the connection tonight, so it seems to have just dropped from my laptop again. So
haven't they just recently come out with some cladding, basically, that you can put on a Citroen van, and it makes it look not too dissimilar to an H van?
Well, it looks quite, yeah. They came out with this limited. So the H van was launched in 1947 to celebrate the fact that it has been around for quite so long. Then now I don't believe it was Citroen themselves, but they came out with this, essentially this body kit, the set of replacement panels, which you could fit to your Citroen Dispatch. Oh, what's the right model? That's bad. I can't remember the right model.
Should we check the?
You could do, yeah. It's the Peugeot Boxer.
So the Jumpy.
Is it the
Jumpy? It says on this, the van.
Yeah, that's what it's called in France. Funnily enough, they didn't keep that name for the UK. So that you can clad that will make it look more like an H van. So it's got little poppy out lights on the side. It's little poppy out lights at the front. It has corrugated panels at the back and on the doors and where the bonnet is. And it's got a kind of piggy snout at the front, just like the H van does. So, but they're only making a certain number of them. They're only making a very limited number, which is a great shame because I'm sure that they could quite easily sell them properly commercially everywhere.
Well, there'd be all the hipster micro coffee brewers for festivals, wouldn't there?
Yes.
Who would like to buy one that worked rather than a rust bucket and then spend 3 mortgages trying to get it roadworthy?
Organic pulled pork donut pizza Emporia.
Yes.
Wood-fired, of course, from sustainable woodland. But yeah, exactly. You would think that would be a popular and good idea, but there we go.
Right.
Which I think wraps up the end of this week's show, unless I'm very much mistaken. So just to remind,
you are not mistaken.
I'm not mistaken. That's good. So just to remind people, Formula E at the weekend, WRC, Formula E in Monaco, WRC Portugal.
Not this weekend.
Oh, that was next weekend, was it? Okay,
So
Formula E Monaco. Formula E Monaco.
Yes.
Girls and Coffee Redditch.
Yes.
This weekend. Good. Right. And I'm sure there's lots of other stuff happening around the country. So please check with local motor racing circuits and any towns that are having displays and exhibitions on their village greens. But once you've not forgotten to do that, don't forget that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts with the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Please don't forget about our Patreon offers as well as our Audible offer, both of which are still available at motoringpodcast.com/support. The Patreon is also available from motoringpodcast.com. It's the only red button on there. Ratings, reviews, all the other stuff that I normally talk about really, really do matter. Until we're back next week, Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way would be via Twitter. If you search for Crack Windscreen, you will find me. And Alan, if people want to tell you about all the myriad of local garden or even village green motoring shows.
Don't do that, because I will get inundated with tweets.
Motoring shows. Please, what is the best place for them to send all of these to?
If you've got it set up on Facebook, then please send it on Facebook, because then I will repost it from our Facebook page. If not, and if you want a wider audience, then Twitter is the best place, where I'm at AJP Bradley, and I will probably retweet it from the Motoring Podcast account anyway. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyhow, we'll be back next week. But until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clews.
And safe motoring.